Senator Tedisco to explain his vote.
Thank you, President. President and my colleagues. This bill deals with a significant and serious issue and concern. And in some ways, I think it purports to solve the problem of a lack of openness and transparency and honesty as we relate to the FOIL system, Freedom of Information Act, and the open government laws in New York State. I'm hastened to say that we have an executive on the second floor, a governor, who's a pretty good communicator. Such a good communicator and such a good actor that our friends in Hollywood gave him an Emmy. Well, he may deserve an Emmy for communication and acting, but he will never get an Emmy for transparency, openness, and honesty. In fact, if anybody within listening range of me is interested in whether an Emmy can tarnish, probably all you have to do is go to this office and look on the mantle. And you'll find out it can tarnish very quickly, and so can somebody's reputation, who lies, distorts, covers up, and hides the truth. This particular bill is serious in relationship to the issue it purports to solve. It's not serious about doing it, though. And I'll tell you why. Maybe you have had the experience I have had, the media has had, groups have had, to try to foil for information that should be given and open to the public, a hallmark of our representative democracy. I can tell you what the game plan is every single time I've done that. Every single time I've done that, an administrator, a commissioner, a decision maker who I tried to foil for information, and I'm pretty sure a lot of my colleagues may have had the same thing happen to them, or the media, they keep moving the goalpost farther and farther and farther down the field. In fact, so far it's outside of the stadium. And sometimes you can never get the information. The most egregious example of that is being investigated right now. And it should be investigated right now. We didn't lose 7,000 or 8,000 people, our most vulnerable population. One of the worst tragedies in the history of New York State. We lost 15,000 of our most vulnerable population in nursing homes. You know how long it took to get that information from Freedom of Information in the FOIL process? Forever. The only reason why we got it is because the AG did an investigation, and she came out and said, 50% undercount. It's not 7,000 or 8,000, it's 15,000. I had the opportunity with the Empire Center, and by the way, we had hearings, we asked Commissioner Zucker for the answers, we foiled him. The Empire Center foiled about 6 to 8 months ago. The goalposts kept moving. We can't give you the answer this month, 2 more months, can't give you the answer then, 2 more. So what did they do, the Empire Center? They sued the governor, DOH, Commissioner Zucker, the state of New York. And I'm told it's $5,000 to $10,000 the legal fees to do that. Judge Kimberly O'Connor, after those 6 to 8 months, came back with a directive, a judgment. You know what she said? The governor, state of New York, Zucker, DOH, violated the open government law. Let me repeat that. Violated the open government law, and you have to give those numbers. Well, they gave them. That's why we know it wasn't 7,000 deaths. It was 15,000 deaths. It may still be rising right now. But she said something else. Hey, governor, state of New York, you have to pay those legal fees. You know what? The governor didn't pay any legal fees. Commissioner Zucker didn't pay any legal fees. DOH didn't pay any legal fees. The taxpayers who I'm talking to now paid the legal fees. They're all indemnified. Time and time and time again, when they defy the open government law, they don't give that information out, that the public has the right to know in a timely and orderly fashion. Nobody pays a penalty here in New York State. They just go about their ways. Nothing to see here, just keep right on going. Well, the taxpayers paid $5,000 to $10,000 for those legal fees. It was the penalty that the judge gave, not to the taxpayers, but they paid it. This bill basically says, well, we make a mistake out here, which is not a mistake, defying the open government law, and we catch you at it. We're just going to use taxpayers' money more often to pay for the mistake that they make, not a mistake, I'm sorry I said that, a denial that they make. That's wrong. That doesn't give them the impetus or the desire to do what's right. And that's when you get a FOIL, you are asked for information that should be public information, especially when 15,000 of our most vulnerable population die because of an executive order, or a good portion of it, on March 25th. And then sometime in April, he says, we're going to rescind that. We made a little bit of a mistake. Yeah, that's a little bit of a mistake. And then you write a book, and because it doesn't fit your narrative, you hide those numbers for 8 to 10 months, and we got to sue the state of New York for that. We can't continue this. This bill does not solve that. You know what solves that? Not a violation if you don't give the information to the public they deserve, a real penalty. In other words, the judge should have been able to say, hey, you broke the law. You violated the open government law. You violated the Freedom of Information Act. Governor, you got to pay $500. That's your fine, $500. Not from your campaign fund, not from taxpayers' dollars, not from an indemnification. Commissioner Zucker, you got to pay $500, not of taxpayers' dollars. You're denying this information. You have an obligation above and beyond everybody to adhere to the law. And this open government law, this transparency law, is extremely important because we can see what happens when they go unabetted. When we didn't know that it wasn't 7,000, that it was larger and larger and kept growing and growing, that we could have involved ourselves more. But they wouldn't give us the numbers. DOH wouldn't, the commissioner wouldn't, the governor wouldn't. And you know what? When the judge made that determination and said, you have to pay for the legal fees, that poured salt in the wounds of taxpayers of this state, of all New Yorkers, but most of all, of the family members who lost those 15,000 loved ones because of the situation and the numbers and the lying and distortion and cover-up that took place. It poured salt in their wounds because they didn't get any justice. It was their tax dollars. It was their loved ones who lost their lives. And who paid the fine for the legal fees? Well, we have an investigation now. Hopefully that investigation will lead us to do a real bill, a serious bill that says we as elected officials who make the laws have to adhere to the laws. And when it's public information, we have to provide that public information. Madam President, I'm going to vote no on this bill, but you bring a bill to the floor that gives a real penalty for governors and for decision makers and for commissioners and for elected officials who hide the truth in public information. I'll vote for that on any day. But I vote no on this bill today.